Hello everyone, this is Mike at Play Favorites. We're a friendly neighborhood toy store located in Royal Plaza in beautiful Front Royal, Virginia. And today we're going to do a little bit of a different sort of Play Favorites video. Normally I'm trying to give you quick and snappy reviews and how to plays of board games and cool new toys. Today, it's reading day. I'm here with a short stack of books from some of my favorite authors. So let's just dive right into it. First on the stack, we have Karen Cushman. The book in my hand is Rodzina. Now, Karen Cushman is remarkable. I'm pretty sure that all the books that she writes feature female protagonists. But boys, guys, fellas, don't let that deter you. These books are amazing. Every book that she writes features a girl in very, very hard times. Sometimes in the Middle Ages, or in the case of Rodzina, an orphan who's moving from Europe to Chicago. What I love about Karen Cushman's books, she does not pull any punches, or at least she pulls as few punches as she can while still making her books appropriate for kids about 11 and up, maybe even a little younger than that. There's one called The Bone Setter's Apprentice, which takes place in the medieval village before there were real surgeons or doctors or dentists, and she goes into nitty-gritty, disgusting detail all about how doctors used to help bones and people mend. Stuff like that. It's fantastic, and it's all very historical. They're all fiction, but they are very well researched historical fiction. So that is Karen Cushman, a very well-deserved Newbery medalist. This next one is Ogre Enchanted, and the author is Gail Carson Levine. Now, the two books that I'd rather be holding in my hands right now by Gail Carson Levine are Ella Enchanted, which is the companion to Ogre Enchanted, and Dave at Night. Those are my two favorite books by Gail Carson Levine, but all of her books are extremely worthwhile. Ella Enchanted, despite having a super girly name, I cannot think of any boy 5th grade or up who would not love that book. Pretty much every person who I introduced this book to just adores it. It's a fantasy story. It deserves, it's got ogres, it's got magic, it's got bandits, it's got all sorts of stuff, and it deserves to be up there with Harry Potter. I'm gonna say maybe Lord of the Rings, but on a lower literary level. It's just wonderful, and you can read it on a purely fictional level where you're just reading the book for the story. But there's also all of her books feature so many things to think about and discuss. They are really, really deep if you want to go there, but they can also be enjoyed just very superficially. Hey, I'm just here for an absolutely fantastic and fantastically written story. So that is Gail Carson Levine, the author of Ella Enchanted and Dave at Night. Those are the two that I would recommend above all the others. You may have seen the Ella Enchanted movie. It's awful. If you haven't seen it, don't bother with it. It's 100% different than the book. Don't even bother. All right, moving on. Sid Fleischman's The Whipping Boy. Mandatory reading, mandatory author. I would say anyone about 4th grade and up. Kind of like Karen Cushman, he somehow manages to be very nitty-gritty and a little bit, use some gruesome detail, but still make his books entirely appropriate for children and at the same time appropriate for adults. Parents, if you are looking for a book that will have your kids absolutely riveted, it's The Whipping Boy, and you will be absolutely riveted too. It's the kind of book that you'll start it at bedtime and say, oh, we'll just read a couple of chapters. You're gonna finish the entire thing in one sitting. I guarantee it. Okay, now here's an author everyone's heard of. Roald Dahl, right? So Roald Dahl is the author of such books which have also been made into movies as Matilda and The Fantastic Mr. Fox, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, so on and so forth. But what a lot of folks are not aware of is that Roald Dahl has two amazing autobiographies. You've got Boy, in which he tells the story of his life as a boy growing up in England. And it wasn't an easy life, but it was a very, very entertaining life. And then he's got Going Solo, which actually tells the story of a lot of it is of his life in the RAF, I'm not sure what that A stands for. I'm sorry. Oh, this is so embarrassing. But anyway, I think that Boy and Going Solo are two of Roald Dahl's best books, also two of his slightly more obscure ones, and Royal Air Force. Ugh. So if you have not read these, seek them out. They are well worth it, as is everything that Roald Dahl has ever written. Okay, now we're going to move on to some picture books. The author here is Alan Say, and the book is Grandfather's Journey. So Alan Say comes from a family of Japanese who immigrated to America, and almost all of his books will take place either in Japan or in America or in both. This, I believe, is his first or definitely his breakthrough book, and it tells the story of his grandfather and his grandfather's life in Japan and then moving to America, and it goes back and forth and juxtaposes his grandfather's experiences in each one. What I love about Alan Say, I mean, first of all, what an incredible artist, but you'll also notice that there are not a lot of words on each page, and yet using so few words, he tells rich and vibrant stories. Like, you feel by reading two of Alan Say's sentences combined with looking at his pictures, you feel like you have just read 10 full pages. He's just incredible. I've never been disappointed by anything that he's written. You can find his books everywhere, including Play Favorites. Highly recommended. Now, here is an author you are definitely familiar with some of his work, Chris Van Allsburg. However, you might not be familiar with the name Chris Van Allsburg. Why? Well, he is the author of the book Jumanji. He's also the author of the book The Polar Express, as well as the book Zathura, which was the sequel to Jumanji. Now, he usually works in charcoal, as you can see, and he uses a fair amount of words, but let's show you a couple more pictures. What I love about Chris Van Allsburg, I mean, obviously the art is just incredible. I could sit here looking at his pictures for hours on end, but he tells you just enough that you know what's going on. He also tells you just enough that you wonder if you really have the complete idea of what's going on. His books are wonderful triggers for the imagination. He is one of my favorite children's book authors ever. Just look at that. I mean, and this book in particular, the one that I've selected, I don't know if it's his best book. It's awesome, but it might not be his best. My favorite is personally The Stranger. I picked this out because when I was a kid, this book is the one that my family took out of the library more than pretty much any other book in the entire Lakewood branch of the Ocean County Library. So this book is very special to me. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you discovered some good new authors and some nice new books. This is Mike at Play Favorites. Have a wonderful day. Toodles.